that right now.
Now, on Anthony Albanese's extraordinary statement yesterday, let's be crystal clear about what is going on. Labor is now begging the Liberals for preferences in various seats around the country to allow Labor Party members of Parliament to continue their careers. I mean, I like Anthony Albanese, but he has gone from fighting Tories to begging Tories. Anthony Albanese says that Malcolm Turnbull is Tony Abbott in a top hat. Anthony Albanese is now Oliver going to Malcolm Turnbull in his top hat with a begging bowl saying, please sir, can I have your preferences? I had your preferences at the last election and please sir, can I have some more? Let's remember what happened last time. Labor and Liberal worked together to try and keep the Greens out of the House of Representatives. In my seat of Melbourne, we had the Liberal Party preferencing Labor, and over the river, in Melbourne Ports, you had Labor preferencing Tony Abbott ahead of the Greens. There was a deal at the last election between Labor and Liberal to try and maintain Parliament as a closed shop, and so that every seat around the country is a two-horse race. And yet again, we are seeing Labor coming out saying that Labor wants to do a deal with the Liberals to try and stop alternative voices getting elected into Parliament, to keep it as a closed shop. Anthony Albanese should do what I had to do in Melbourne at the last election, and that is win a seat in his own right without having to rely on Liberal preferences. I think people will increasingly see through this desperate attempt from Labor to beg the Liberal Party to shore up their political careers. Now, what does it say? What does it say about the modern Labor Party that many members of Parliament are dependent on the good graces of the Liberal Party for them to keep their seats on the front bench and on the back bench? That's what we're witnessing here. Have no mistake, this is a desperate plea from people to Malcolm Turnbull for Liberals to preference Labors so that they can wipe out alternative voices in the House of Representatives. I'll be aiming to win my own seat again in Melbourne in our own right, without relying on preferences from anyone else. And I'd urge Anthony Albanese, if he's serious about fighting Tories, to do the same.
Are the Greens directing preferences to the Liberals in the seat of Corangamite and Deakin?
The Greens have never preferenced Liberals over Labor anywhere, and I can't imagine us starting now.
So you're ruling that out completely?
Decisions about preferences will ultimately be made by the party and by local branches closer to the time. But what is crystal clear is that nowhere can you find the Greens having preferenced Liberals before, including at the last election. Labor preferenced the Liberals above the Greens in the seat of Melbourne Ports. The Greens didn't fight back and say we're going to preference Labor last. We didn't. Labor's the one who has got form in preferencing the Liberals above the Greens. There are no plans for the Greens to preference Liberals ahead of Labor this election. We haven't done it before. We're not intending to start it again now. This is a desperate attempt by Labor to shore up Liberal preferences for themselves.
But isn't the deal for the Greens to preference the Libs?
Decisions about preferences will be made by the party, not by the MPs. And there's very, very good reasons for that. And I think you will find it's the same across the political spectrum. You don't let members of Parliament make the decisions and go into the negotiations about preferences because they might make decisions that are not necessarily what the party wants. So the party will make its decisions. So
you must have a personal view, given that you're worried about hanging on to your own seat.
Well, we'll be preferencing Labor ahead of Liberals in the seat of Melbourne. That's something that I can have a say over, and I expect it'll be the same in many, many other seats around the country. You can't point me to any instances in recent history where the Greens have preferenced Liberals above Labor, but I can show you where Labor's done that.
But the deal is about a split ticket, isn't it? That instead of preferencing Labor in those Liberal-held marginals, you will issue a split ticket in return for Liberal preferences in Batman, Wills and your seat of Melbourne. That's the deal we're talking about, isn't it?
The party has made a statement about this, that there is no deal. And so if you've got any questions about that, I'll refer you to the party and refer you to that statement. But let's talk a bit about open tickets. The Greens have had a long-standing position that voters should allocate their own preferences. And in many parts of the country, the default position is we encourage people to vote one Greens and allow people to make up their own decisions. Now, If some places do that again, as they have done in previous elections, say vote one Greens and then after that decide your own preferences, and we make it crystal clear who we would prefer to see in power, I think it's a very, very long vote.
But how are you going to explain to Greens voters that you're going to be happy to receive the preferences of the party that brings you offshore detention and dismantled emissions trading system? Like, we've spoken to voters already and they're already raising those concerns about this talks between you guys and the Liberal Party on that. Doesn't sit well with them.
Labor is now sending out the bat signal saying to the Liberal Party, please can Labor and the Liberal parties do another deal on preferences like we did last time. It is Labor who is out there now desperately begging Malcolm Turnbull for Liberal preferences so that they can hold on to their seat. You should
to Greens voters who express those concerns.
Message to Greens voters is that Labor is out begging the Liberal Party for preferences because there are so many areas that they agree on, like offshore detention, like low ambition on climate change. Labor and Liberal know that they have got much more in common with each other than they feel that they have with us. And just like at the last election, you saw Labor and Liberal do a deal to try and stop Greens getting elected in the House of Representatives. Don't be surprised if it happens again. So I would say to people, don't fall for this charade from the likes of Anthony Albanese. He is sending a message, pure and simple, to Malcolm Turnbull. He is holding out the begging bowl, saying, please, sir, can I have your preferences?
But how disappointed would you be?
Sorry?
Are you working on a July 2 federal election?
Look, we thought there might have been a federal election last year, so we're ready to go for whenever the federal election is. If it's July 2, it's July 2. I think it would be a mistake for Malcolm Turnbull to call a July 2 election. I think it would look like he's got something to hide and doesn't want to try and get his budget through the Parliament, but we're raring and ready to go if it's called.
How disappointed?
The Greens with the Senate preferences, some sort of insight into when the election will be?
Not that I'm aware of.
How disappointed would you be if in other seats the Greens party did a deal with the Liberal Party?
Look, let's be very clear. The Greens have not preferenced the Liberals before, and I have not heard anyone in my party suggesting that we should change that. So that makes me happy.
But I think Greens voters want you to be a bit more frank about whether you're negotiating with the Liberals on a split ticket arrangement of the type I described. Is that correct?
Well, I'd encourage you to go and ask the party about those, because it is not up to the MPs to have any of those discussions. I'd encourage you to go and have a chat with the party. What I would say is I wouldn't be at all surprised if Labor and Liberal are talking. They did last time. They clearly did last time. So go and ask Labor whether they're having discussions with the Liberals to try and reach the same kind of deal that they did last time. This is Labor, pure and simple, in desperation, saying, please, Liberals, can we have your preferences?
Are you comfortable with the fact that you don't seem to be able to rule out that there are deals afoot with the Liberal Party?
Well, that's not true. The party has issued a very clear and unequivocal statement in response to the fanciful claims from Anthony Albanese yesterday. So I think the party's very clear on the record in saying that's just not right. Thanks very much.
Ellen Sandals, State Member.